Frogger, the classic 1981 arcade game from Konami where you're guiding frogs across a street and a riverbed to get them home while avoiding traffic, snakes, and other perils that will make short work of your amphibious heroes if you mess up. Like many popular arcade properties of the time, it got a conversion job over to the Atari 2600 video computer system. Frogger is an interesting specimen since it had two such conversions. There's the 1982 version from Parker Brothers, which is the subject of today's video, but there's also the official Frogger, a later release from Starpath that played off an audio cassette. It's a long story that's irrelevant to today's video, so let's get back to the one we're looking at. The main goal of Frogger, if you've never played Frogger or if you just need a refresher, is to guide your frog across the road, avoiding all the cars and the trucks, and then gingerly traversing logs and turtle shells on your way to your frog hole. Once you get that frog home, you repeat the process over with the remaining 4 frogs. Once all 5 frogs made it across safely home, it's on to the next wave where you pretty much do the same thing, only the level is slightly tougher with the addition of alligators and snakes as you progress onwards. Contact with a hazard will cost you a frog, and if you lose all your frogs, the game ends. On the surface, Frogger on Atari 2600 is a faithful adaptation of the arcade classic, at least in terms of the core gameplay. The overall layout of the screen never changes, only the obstacles you have to contend with are somewhat altered on each level. Gameplay as a whole is solid and works as well as expected. Control is also pretty solid and responsive, which is vital for a game like Frogger, and that's where the game modes of Frogger come into play. On game modes 1 through 4, moving the stick in one direction will cause Frogger to hop one space, but 5 and 6 gives Frogger constant motion as long as you hold the stick in any direction, making for more slippery play. Difficulty switches determine whether Frogger wraps around the screen while on logs or turtles on the river, and of course there's the option of either 1 or 2 player alternating play. So it's not much in terms of variation, but Frogger is a solid game on its own that it really doesn't matter. Frogger sports some refined graphics, for lack of a better term, by the standards of the VCS. Nothing revolutionary, but at the very least you can make out all the elements on screen. Frogger looks like a frog, turtles look like turtles, well, somewhat. Snakes look like snakes, and so on and so forth. It's not much to look at, but it's a fine looking game that nails the arcade layout just fine, even with all the on-screen flickering that's a thing with most Atari games. In regards to the sound, Frogger sounds alright. There's no in-game music beyond the few arcade jingles that play here and there, but the sound effects that play throughout are alright. Inoffensive, passable fare for the most part, not much else to say here. Overall, Frogger for the Atari 2600 is a fun game on its own merit and serves as a perfectly acceptable adaptation of the Konami arcade classic. What it lacks in looks and sounds, for the most part, it more than makes up for with solid gameplay and tight controls, with some options to give the game some semblance of replay value. On a whole, a well-made arcade port for the old wood grain wonder.